A very warm good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, viewers. I'm Matthias Aufiku, news editor of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Evening Review Show. Tonight we're joined in studio by Ms. Duminga Ndala. She's the leader of the Landless People's Movement Youth Command. Ms. Ndala, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Matthias. Thank you for having me here.
No, it's indeed a pleasure to have you here. Well, tell us a bit about your independence yesterday. How did you celebrate it?
Well, as the Landless People's Movement, we decided to have a worship and praise day. I think all glory belongs to God. So we sort of decided to promote the creative arts industry, particularly when it comes to performing artists. We invited various gospel artists all around Namibia, and then they had to deliver their art. I think it was very profound that we promote especially performing artists, because one also needs to keep in mind that COVID-19 sort of slowed down the artists, especially in the creative arts industry. So we sort of wanted to bring that out, particularly when it relates to gospel artists. So we had a praise and worship day. That is how we celebrated our independence. I think we live in a democratic epoch, and each and every political party or each and every Namibian citizen should be given an opportunity to decide how they deem to celebrate Independence Day. It's just not the normal rhetorics of going to the Independence Stadium and listening to political speeches that do not speak to the realities of the people on the ground, but it is to sort of also have other forms of celebration, whether it's through praise and worship, whether it's through rallies or having festivities. So I think ours was to sort of just promote the creative arts industry, particularly when it relates to performing artists. So that's how we spent our day. It was in the airport, so we had around about 200 to 400 people. The hall was packed, and most people were actually saved. I think we as a Namibian nation, we also do allow Christianity. So a lot of people were saved, and we give God all the glory to that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It sounds interesting. Well, Independence Day, I think it means different things to different people. Some
Right.
would say there's nothing to celebrate. Some would say 32 years later, as a country, we came so far. As the LPM Youth Command, what is your official position regarding 32 years after independence as a country?
I mean, I think first and foremost, we should stop saying celebration, but rather a commemoration, because it was a very dreadful and hard struggle for us to attain political independence. I think one can't sort of ignore that we have done quite, I think, world of infrastructural development, but there's more to it. I think really when one have to reflect, especially being a young person, what has independence really brought in terms of economic emancipation? We have a lot of high unemployment rate, or in the country, a lot of graduates are unemployed, and we still say we are going to celebrate 22 years of independence. I think we should rather change it to political independence as opposed to independence. So, because when we speak of the word independence, it should speak to economic emancipation, it should speak to social mobility, it should speak to all issues that resonate with young people particularly, or Namibians. I think we, as the LPM Youth Command, we have already provided our stance that instead of us sort of celebrating and going to stadium and listening to political statements that do not speak to the aspiration of Namibians, they do not speak to the social realities and economic realities of Namibian, have we should rather divert this money to other developmental programs, maybe mentorship programs for young people, entrepreneurial programs for young people, or maybe also into infrastructural development, because we cannot time year in and out. We'll be celebrating independence, but our people still go back at home hungry. Look at what happened yesterday, where masses of people were actually not allowed to enter. We do take cognizance that of COVID regulations, that they could not exceed the 1,000 amount of gathering that was put there. But we are saying that if it's really Independence Day, each and every Namibian should celebrate it, and and if they want to enter into the stadium, they should be given that accord. So what we are saying is, instead of us having this extravaganza celebration, let's rather divert the money to schools. Let's equip our schools. We have seen pictures of a school in Kononene region where these learners are subjected to be sleeping on the floor. I think we can't go on like that. It has been 32 years of independence. We can't still blame apartheid because we can't blame poverty and our structural inequalities on apartheid. But I think our black administrators, they need to rise to the occasion, and they have to see to it how we can transform the social affairs of Namibians, particularly our young people.
Yeah. Well, but some people would say some of these social challenges, such as schools not being well equipped and hospitals and so on, will always be there. Does this mean we should not commemorate days such as Independence Day?
Well, I think we should, but we need to commemorate in a way that we know that our schools have been taken care of. Then we can celebrate. I think we can't take away that yeah, our forefathers into exile and they fought for our political independence. That we can't take away that, and we are never ever going to discard that history. I think we applaud them for them, but it's now time that we take on a new fight. We live in a modern political epoch, so I think it's time that we take on a new fight, which is economic emancipation, or which is sort of transforming the social realities of Namibians. We can't be talking of political independence or liberation struggle year in and out. Imagine if we are in 2050 and we still speak about the liberation struggle. I don't think that won't speak to our generation then. So we have to live in time. We have to see to it that when we speak of independence, it also speaks to our people. And yeah, so I think social problems will always be there, that we can admit. But I think as a government and as people of Namibia, we need to see to it that our social problems are sort of lowered. We can't be speaking about schools not having enough equipment in 2030. I think that will be an embarrassment to the nation. It would also speak, and it will speak so much to what the governing party is. Are they just there to sort of serve the Namibian people, or are they there to serve their interest? So I think we are not discarding the history, but we also have to look at the realities of our people. Yes.
Yeah, well, I think what happened yesterday in Swakopmund was rather unprecedented in terms of the
Yes.
invite element of it all, where members of the public were seemingly shocked. Well, what was your stance when you got the wind of what actually transpired in Swakopmund yesterday?
I think as a young person, I was actually disappointed and very embarrassed that there were other dignitaries from other countries that had to experience that. I think there was a gap in terms of communication. The deputy minister of MICT tried to explain that due to the COVID regulations, we could not allow a lot of people to enter. But I think had the communication been made earlier, we're not going to land in such a predicament. But also, I think, furthermore, it's rather an embarrassment for you to be invited to your country's Independence Day. Nobody needs an invite. I think people truly look forward to enjoy or commemorate the political independence. I think it's 32 years of independence. That is a milestone. So if it's by invite, then it sort of discard the whole process of celebration. So we should do away with invite. That sort of just depicted that there are some animals that are more important than others in society, and that also sort of showed the class divide in Namibia. According to states, Namibia is already one of the most country with a high rate of inequality. So that sort of just showed or proved the report that we do have a high inequality rate in Namibia. I think a lot of people were complaining on how they were treated, and they were actually advancing important points that we are only needed during elections, and then after elections, people do not listen to our cry, people do not listen to to our needs, and it's true. I think that is the general comment or the general consensus of the our ordinary Namibians. So it was rather embarrassing, even if we
Yeah.
have to sort of ask our neighboring countries. I think that is uncalled for and unheard of, and I think we should do away with that. And the presidency, or the president rather, should come out and apologize to the nation at large that what his officials have done, they have done a disservice to our Namibians, and they have sort of betrayed the blood that our forefathers went to go fight for.
Yeah. Just lastly on this topic, we know in recent years there's been this talk about the significance of the day and whether it still holds that relevance. I know you highlighted that earlier on. But do you think, perhaps to a certain extent, yesterday's events sort of diminished the significance of the day in any way, if at all, for that matter?
Yeah, definitely, because I think the day was basically brought up for all Namibians to celebrate or commemorate and reflect on our journey as from 1990 up to date. But obviously, because of what had transpired, that sort of diminished the meaning of independence. I think it should have been better if we should call it probably the elitist Independence Day, because it was just the elites and those that are close to power or that have proximity to political power that were invited. And if we also have to scrutinize the invitation, we should also look to it, who are the people that were invited? Was it political
Were
parties,
your party's
ordinary?
leaders invited?
I think they were invited. I'm not sure. Even if they were invited, I don't think they were going to attend because of obvious reasons. I mean, why should they attend if the masses of our people that have put us in power are not allowed to enter the stadium? I think we as a party, we are a people-centered movement. So if the people are not there, then we are nothing. So why they just invite? They have the haves and not the have not. So I think yesterday's event, or yeah, yesterday's event actually diminished the meaning of independence. Maybe going forward, if it's going to be by invite, then it should not be a national event. Then it should just be an event for those that have proximity to political power and the means of production.
Yeah. Duminga, we'll just go for a short ad break and we'll be back to continue this conversation.
No problem.
Well, welcome back from the short break. Duminga, are we still together?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like us
Yes.
to talk about party politics. Of course, the LPM has
Yes.
been making headlines the past few days, weeks. What's going on in the orange corner?
Interesting question. I think, Matthias, when people join political parties, they sort of ignore the essence of why you have to join a certain political party. When we all joined political party, I think the LPM, I think it's because its ideology resonated with us. But if you then join the movement on the basis of you wanting to enrich yourself, or you wanting to sort of exclusively make this political party for a certain race or ethnic or ethnicity, then you are obviously in the wrong place. And obviously, those motives, those personal motives, one way or another, will catch up with you. So I think with the LPM, that has sort of been the issue, that we have self-centered leaders that are just there to sort of enrich themselves, that are there to confuse the movement because they do not understand the political program that we want to bring forth in the country. They are not well acquainted with our political ideology.
Yeah.
So I think the issue actually sort of derived from those factors that I've just alluded. So I think we as a party are not shaken. There's no crisis, as the media is making it seems to be like there's no crisis. There's no leadership crisis. I think we are very focused, and that's to sort of grow our party, grow our base, and to sort of reach out to all corners of Namibia, because our motto is to restore the dignity of all Namibians, whether you are black, white, pink, you are of Ahero speaking, Obama speaking, Nama speaking, or whatever. That is ultimately that's our motto. So if you do not resonate with our political ideology, if you do not understand our political program, then you definitely are going to be in trouble. So there's really no issue, as the media is making it seem to be, or as some individuals on Facebook. I think Facebook can be a dangerous tool and can also be a good campaign tool. So I think some individuals, they do not have political grounding, and obviously because they do not see on how they can sort of climb into the political leadership. They tend they tend to go to on social media and say all these nasty things. But I think what we as a party are doing is sort of ignoring it and forging forward, because our mandate is greater than any individual. And
Yeah.
that's to restore the dignity of each and every Namibian. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Duminga, I know you're painting this picture that everything is fine in the party and so on. But when you have members who've been in leadership position, representing the party at the national level, at regional level, especially in your base in the south, making these public pronouncements, how do you think your electorate or your followers should react to this? Or are all
I
these
mean,
just baseless, as you say?
well, I think we have released a couple of press statements. I don't know if you guys have received it. The Where we actually explained the central issue of what is happening in the party. I think one of the issue is what I've highlighted before is people are not ideologically grounded. They do not understand the aims and objectives of the movement. So if you do not understand that and you do not internalize that, that will sort of catch up with you, and you would have a problem with the national leadership. I think with our electorate, as I have said before, that we are a people-centered movement. We have our grassroots mobilizers going there on the ground and telling our electorates that there is really no crisis, and we are explaining to them what is happening. We are keeping them informed, because we are a people-centered movement. Obviously, there are some, especially on Facebook, that were worried as why is such utterance being made in public. But as a party also, these individuals were also called in to sort of refute the allegations that have been brought against them. But they refused. We gave them three times. They were given three times to come and explain themselves, but they refused. So I think if they refuse, we as a party, the onus is on us to sort of take a stance and to sort of take a position that this is what we are going to go with. But with the electorate, I think they've even sort of offered their solidarity and support more than ever. So I think we as a movement are not worried, because this is just something small. Yes.
Yeah. Just lastly, before we close off, you
Yes.
spoke of some of your party members, some of those who are now aggrieved, not being in tune with the political with the ideology of the party, not being politically grounded. Does this speak to the, the, the requirements the party has in place when it elects or appoints party members to serve in certain positions? Because surely this should have been picked up earlier on, that clearly Duminga is not fit enough and he doesn't understand the ideology of the party to serve in this position. Oh,
Well, I think, Matthias, one thing you need to realize is when you start a movement, I think you attract all sorts of people. you attract all birds, all lions you attract. So as the party grows, you sort of tend to realize that this person is not in tune or in line with the political ideology. They probably joined the party because they were disgruntled, or they sort of presented themselves as a people-centered leader, but they actually not. And because if you are told to do this, or if they are told to step down, and you realize they actually turn against you, then we sort of reflect as an organization and say, okay, this person is not actually the person that we thought the person was. They actually just sort of misled us. They misled us, and this is not what we as a party want. I think the requirements in regards to leadership position, we as a party, or the top leadership, obviously, when it comes to, let me speak, when it comes to the selection of councillors, everybody, like, we are a very democratic party. You are allowed to contest for any position in the party, and obviously your experience also is considered in how you operate with people, how you sort of understand the party's position, and we want to as a party. So those are all the factors that we look at. But at the time, I said, people sort of pretend and they give us this facade, and we would not know what type of person you are until you actually serve in a structure, or until you are given a position. So those are some of the things that we look at. And obviously, if you have this period of not working with people, and of not sort of engaging with other races and other ethnic groups, then you're surely in a wrong party. And we are trying to avoid the case of opposition parties, that they do not sort of grow beyond their base. They do not last long in politics because of these petty political confusions and
Yeah.
miscalculations. So we as a party, we are trying to avoid that. But I think the requirements are always there. At times, people are appointed because they have served long they have served long in that specific unit or structure. And then I think we believe in social mobility and in promoting people because of their hard work. So I think we definitely like I said, when you start a political party, you attract all sorts of people. But
Yeah.
as time goes by, as we enlarge the party, you realize that other individuals are just there for self-enrichment. And no matter what, no matter how many times you try to rehabilitate them, they will never change. But we as a party, since we care about Namibians, henceforth, we gave them all these opportunities to sort of present their case, but people were not willing. So I think we have to move on. I think, Matthias, we have to move on. We can't
Yeah.
be
Okay.
we can't be on this topic for so long. We can't be
Okay.
on this topic for so long. We have done inroads in other regions. So we
Yeah.
as a party, we are focused. We are not shaken by all this. Yes.
Okay, Duminga. No, thanks a lot for your time today, and we wish you well and your party.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a pleasant evening. Well, that's it from the evening review team tonight. To our dear viewers, thank you for tuning in, and we meet again tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you.